Drive Time with Stephen Foster
on BBC Radio Suffolk.
BBC Radio Suffolk.
Prime Minister David Cameron has apologised on behalf of the British government to victims of the contaminated blood scandal. It came after a Scottish inquiry described the saga as the stuff of nightmares, but it concluded that few matters could have been done differently. Thousands of people were infected with hepatitis C and HIV through NHS blood products in the 1970s and 80s, including Steve Sillett from Diss. He's a haemophiliac who developed hepatitis C, cirrhosis of the liver and then liver cancer, and is in Edinburgh's hospital at the moment, having just had a liver transplant. I've been speaking to his daughter-in-law, Laura Rookyard, who lives in Rickinghall.
It's complete nonsense, the findings of today's inquiry. 5 volumes of a report, 6 years to undertake, £12 million spent, and the outcome is one recommendation, which is to offer Scottish patients who received a blood transfusion before 1991 a blood test. To have that amount of time, money, resource, and people's hopes, that is the biggest thing that's been devastated today, is people's hopes. The report doesn't match the evidence that was supplied into the Penrose Inquiry. It doesn't match the charges that were put forward into the inquiry. It doesn't address the main issues. It's degrading to the patients who took part. And it doesn't fit the remit that Nicola Sturgeon asked for, which was to look at the facts.
How does this make you feel?
We all, as a family in our community, are completely and utterly devastated. I spoke to my mother-in-law and my father-in-law. As you know, my father-in-law, who is one of these victims, and the hurt and anger that he feels to sit here today after such a huge build-up and promises that have been made for over 30 years to get to this point today, to come out with nothing. One of the key things that all of the victims and the families wanted was a public apology, which David Cameron did deliver in today's Prime Minister's questions, which, we're all very grateful for. However, this isn't the time for words anymore. We've heard enough words over the last 30 years. And I have to say, the disgraceful way in which Ed Miliband didn't even take 30 seconds to acknowledge the fact that families have lost sons. Our friend Colin and Jan, whose son died aged 7 of AIDS, weighing 13 pounds. He went on to ridicule the Prime Minister, and we just sat back and cried, because I think the least they could have done was to give some dignity and an honourable way to the families and victims, and that's certainly not what's come out of today.
The Health Secretary, Jeremy Hunt, has today pledged £25 million to support the possible change to a different payment system. What hope do you hold out for that?
This is just another sticking plaster on existing foundations which are run and set up by the government that aren't adequate enough to meet the needs of the victims and families as they are. The injuries and the illnesses over all of these years are already compounded, and now the victims and families are left feeling desolated and isolated, and there's a real fear that the mental impact this already has on these people as a community is just going to get even worse after today. My father-in-law was diagnosed with terminal cancer in November 2014, and we still today, in the 25th of March, have not received a single penny of support from any of the existing foundations that were set up, or any kind of benefit support.
Laura Rookyard talking to me earlier this afternoon.